Have you ever wondered why you keep making the same trading mistakes over and over again? Why do some traders constantly overtrade? Why do some panic the moment a trade goes against them? And why do others hesitate to pull the trigger even when a great setup is right in front of them? Most of the time we assume the problem is our strategy. We think we need a better indicator, a different setup, or a new system. But in many cases the real issue runs much deeper. It's hidden in our habits, the way we think, and the behavioral patterns that have become deeply ingrained over time. For many years, people believed that personality could be completely changed. Today we understand that a large part of who we are is shaped by our genetics, upbringing, and life experiences. But that doesn't mean change is impossible. It simply means that success doesn't require you to become a completely different person. What it does require is a deeper understanding of yourself. The true purpose of coaching and self-improvement isn't to change your personality. It's to identify your weaknesses, reduce their impact, and develop your strengths in a way that supports your long-term success. And the same principle applies to trading. You don't need to become a different trader. You need to understand the mental and behavioral patterns that keep showing up in your trading decisions. Which patterns help you stay disciplined and make better decisions? And which patterns repeatedly pull you toward costly mistakes? Because until you recognize those patterns, you can't change them. And that's exactly what this chapter is all about. We're going to learn how to observe ourselves more objectively, how to identify the thought patterns that drive our actions, and how to gradually reshape the habits and behaviors that may be holding back our growth as traders. Now, Dr. Brett Steenbarger points out something very important. You may not be able to completely change your personality, but you can absolutely change how that personality shows up in your behavior, your decisions, and ultimately your trading. And this is where many traders make a mistake. They assume that every problem can be solved with a few generic self-help techniques. Just think positively, keep a journal, work on your mindset, and everything will fall into place. But reality is far more complex than that. Every trader is different, and very often the real problem isn't where we're looking for it. Dr. Brett shares the story of a female trader who had been highly successful for many years, but eventually, her performance began to decline. She no longer felt excited about trading. Her energy levels dropped. Her concentration became weaker, and her mood continued to deteriorate. Things became so difficult that she started wondering whether it was time to retire from trading altogether. She sought help from several coaches, but almost every piece of advice sounded the same. Think more positively, keep a journal, improve your mindset. Yet nothing seemed to work. During a conversation with her, Dr. Brett considered a different possibility. What if the issue wasn't psychological at all? What if it was biological? He suggested that she get a blood test. And when the results came back, they revealed that her thyroid levels were below normal. Treatment began. Gradually, her energy returned. Her mood improved. Her concentration became sharp again. And over time, her trading performance started to recover as well. There's a powerful lesson in this story. Not every problem can be solved through mindset alone. Sometimes, the real cause lies in our physical health. Sometimes it's hidden in our lifestyle. And sometimes it's rooted in our psychology. That's why coaching is only effective when the diagnosis is accurate. If a trader is struggling consistently, it doesn't automatically mean they need more motivation. There may be a deeper issue beneath the surface that hasn't been identified yet. That's why it's important to avoid blind solutions. Instead, focus on understanding yourself, because trading is not just a game of charts and indicators. It's a reflection of your entire system, your body, your mind, your emotions, and your thinking patterns. All of these work together to shape your performance in the markets. You see, one of the biggest reasons traders struggle for years is that they never truly identify the patterns behind their problems. As a result, they keep repeating the same mistakes again and again without ever understanding what's actually causing them. Now you might be thinking, I'm not a psychologist or a therapist, so how am I supposed to identify these hidden patterns? If even experienced coaches sometimes miss them, how can I possibly find them on my own? But this is where Dr. Brett makes a very interesting point. In many situations, you may actually be better at identifying your own problems than a commercial coach. Why? Because you have one major advantage. You don't have an agenda. The trader in the previous example wasn't even Dr. Brett's client. There were no coaching fees involved, no programs being sold, and no business interests attached to the situation. His only goal was to answer one simple question: what is the real problem here? And because of that, he was able to uncover something that others had completely overlooked. Now think about it for a moment. If someone's only solution is coaching, they'll naturally see coaching as the answer to every problem. If someone's only tool is mindset training, they'll start seeing mindset issues everywhere. As the psychologist Abraham Maslow famously said, if the only tool you have is a hammer, every problem begins to look like a nail. That's why it's important not to place blind trust in any guru, coach or expert. Listen to what others have to say, learn from their experience. But don't stop listening to yourself, because when it comes to your body, your emotions, your habits and your daily experiences, you often know more than anyone else. And when you become your own trading coach, you gain a powerful advantage. You're not trying to impress anyone. You're not trying to sell anything. You're simply trying to discover the truth. And that's the real power of self-coaching. So the next question is, how do you actually identify these patterns? The simplest place to start is your trading journal. Go back and review your past journal entries. Then divide them into two groups. The first group should contain the periods when you traded at your very best. And the second group should contain the periods when your performance was at its worst. The first group will reveal what you were doing right. The second group will show you where things started going wrong. In other words, one side will reveal your success patterns, and the other side will expose your problem patterns. And this is where true self-coaching begins. Because once you can clearly see the patterns behind your results, you finally have the power to change them. Let's say you discover something interesting while reviewing your trading journal. You notice that whenever you're trading well, you wait patiently for your setups. You take fewer trades and you keep your risk under control. But whenever you're going through a losing period, you start forcing trades. You increase your position size, and little by little, you begin ignoring your own rules. Now the difference becomes obvious. One pattern is consistently moving you toward profitability, while the other is pulling you toward losses. And that's the true purpose of self-coaching. To understand what needs to be repeated and what needs to be eliminated. That's why your trading journal should never be treated as just a record book. Study it, analyze it, learn from it. After every great trading day, write down 2 or 3 things you did exceptionally well. Maybe you followed your plan perfectly. Maybe you stayed patient. Or maybe you managed risk exactly the way you were supposed to. Then after every poor trading day, identify 2 or 3 mistakes that hurt your performance. Be honest with yourself. Did you overtrade? Did you revenge trade? Did you break your rules because of emotions? Over time, something fascinating starts to happen. You'll begin to see certain positive habits showing up again and again whenever you're profitable. And you'll notice the same destructive mistakes appearing whenever your performance suffers. Those recurring strengths are your success patterns. Those recurring mistakes are your problem patterns. And once you can clearly separate the two, improvement becomes much easier. Now, if you don't see any obvious patterns at first, don't worry. That's completely normal. Keep journaling, keep collecting data, keep observing yourself. Because the more entries you accumulate, the clearer the picture becomes. Eventually, some patterns become so obvious that you can't ignore them anymore. And that's the moment everything starts to change. Because once you recognize a pattern, you finally gain the power to do something about it. Dr. Brett explains that when he began comparing his best trades with his worst trades, several fascinating patterns started to emerge. The first pattern was position sizing. Whenever his position size was balanced, not too large and not too small, his results were consistently better. But the moment position size became extreme, performance started to suffer. The second pattern involved timing. He noticed that trades taken immediately after the market opened or very late in the trading session often produced weaker results. On the other hand, trades taken after the market had settled into a rhythm tended to perform much better. The third pattern was holding duration. The trades that delivered the most consistent results were usually the ones where the entry, stop loss and target had been clearly defined before the trade was placed. There was less uncertainty, less emotional decision making, and far more consistency. The fourth pattern was what he called big picture clarity. Whenever he had a clear understanding of the overall market direction and traded in alignment with it, his performance remained strong. But whenever he became attached to an old market view, and the market was telling a different story, Those were often the trades that caused the most damage. And that's the power of pattern recognition. If you spend enough time studying your own journal, you'll begin to notice similar signals in your trading as well. And that's where real improvement begins. Because successful traders don't just know whether they made money or lost money. They understand why it happened. They understand the pattern behind the result. According to Dr. Brett, there are 5 major categories of patterns that every trader should pay attention to. The first is emotional patterns. When you're trading at your best, what emotional state are you in? Are you calm, patient and focused? Or are fear, frustration and anxiety quietly influencing your decisions? The second category is behavioral patterns. Did you prepare properly before the trading session? Did you follow your rules and execute your plan? Or did you jump into trades without a clear process? The third category is cognitive patterns. In simple terms, it's the way you think. Were you analyzing the market objectively? Or were you simply trying to prove that your opinion was right? The fourth category is physical patterns. What was your physical and mental condition like when you traded? Were you energetic, alert, and mentally sharp? Or were you dealing with stress, fatigue, poor sleep, or low energy? And finally, there are trading patterns. What position size were you using? How were your entries and exits executed? Did you take the trade at the right time and for the right reasons? Or did emotions push you into action? The reality is that most of your success patterns and problem patterns are hidden within these 5 areas. And the sooner you learn to identify them, the sooner you'll understand what's helping your performance grow and what's quietly holding it back. Because trading improvement isn't just about finding better setups. It's about understanding yourself well enough to repeat your best patterns and eliminate the ones that work against you. Once you start tracking these 5 categories of patterns in your journal, something interesting begins to happen. Little by little you start seeing exactly when you're performing at your best and when you're falling into the same mistakes over and over again. And here's the important part. The moment you identify what needs to change, you've already completed half the journey, because you can't improve what you don't understand. But there's another fascinating insight here. Many times, the problem isn't just a single pattern. One pattern creates another. A small thought triggers a powerful emotion. That emotion influences your decisions. And those decisions eventually turn into poor trades. Dr. Brett refers to this as a negative cascade. In other words, one mistake leads to another. And before you know it, you've created an entire chain of mistakes. Let's look at some common patterns that show up repeatedly among traders. Taking an impulsive trade immediately after a loss, because frustration takes over. Becoming afraid to take a valid setup after a series of losing trades. Getting overconfident after a few winners and suddenly abandoning your rules. Exiting profitable trades too early because you're afraid the profit might disappear. Increasing position size in an attempt to recover previous losses. Moving or ignoring your stop loss because accepting the loss feels too painful. Becoming careless after making money and letting discipline slip away. Obsessing over every tick and every candle while completely losing sight of the bigger picture. Blaming yourself after a losing trade and allowing your confidence to collapse. Or sometimes, trading simply for the excitement. Trading for the adrenaline rush. Trading because the action itself feels rewarding. And perhaps the most common pattern of all, FOMO. Watching the market move without you. Then jumping into a trade without a plan because you're afraid of missing the opportunity. Now take a moment and think about it. How many of these patterns sound familiar? How many of them have shown up in your own trading? Because the truth is that most trading losses aren't caused by a lack of strategy. They're caused by these repeated patterns of thinking, feeling, and behaving. The same patterns that quietly show up day after day. The good news is that once you can identify a pattern, you can begin interrupting it. You can challenge it. And eventually you can replace it with a better one. That's the real power of self-coaching. Because mastery in trading doesn't come from reading more charts alone. It comes from understanding the patterns inside your own mind. The traders who improve the fastest aren't necessarily the ones with the best strategies. They're the ones who become students of their own behavior. Because when you learn to recognize your patterns, you gain the ability to change your results. So the biggest takeaway from this chapter is simple. The key to becoming a better trader isn't trying to become someone else. It's learning to understand yourself. The more aware you become of your thoughts, emotions, habits, and behaviors, the easier it becomes to identify the patterns that are helping you succeed and the patterns that are holding you back. Remember, every great trader has strengths. Every great trader has weaknesses. What separates successful traders from struggling traders is not perfection, it's self-awareness. Because once you can recognize a pattern, you can change it. And once you can change it, you can transform your results. If you found value in this chapter and learned something that can improve your trading journey, make sure to hit the like button. And if you're interested in trading psychology, discipline, risk management, and developing a professional trader's mindset, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so you never miss the next lesson. Thank you so much for watching. I truly appreciate you spending your time here with me. I'll see you in the next chapter. Until then, trade smart, stay disciplined, and keep working on the trader behind the charts.